What's up, y'all? How crazy was yesterday? I know we were joking around about it in public, but the day slate was, pardon my French, fucking boring. I mean, like an absolute snoozer. I know I tweeted in the afternoon, like a home run by one guy will be a slate changer, and Jose Abreu was that guy. And then the night slate, oh my Lord, talk about offense. Hopefully some of you guys did okay. I know, Daniel, you put in the Facebook group this morning about scoring over 200, and it still didn't even net you that much money. It was crazy night last night.
So, yeah, just to touch on the day slate again, though, because once slates happen, we like to talk about them a little bit, but they're in the past. We're always focusing on the next slate, right? So we don't really focus on the last slate unless something big happens. But again, in the day slate yesterday, it was a perfect time to be different in the sense that I don't know exactly because I didn't look. I'm pretty sure Lopez was right up there as the highest scoring pitcher. And we talked about that before, that could happen.
So was your boy Sensatella. He was right there.
Sensatella was up there. Beeks was right up there for Tampa.
That kid who started the game for Tampa struck out 5 guys in 2 innings.
All those guys scored more than Heaney, which is all that mattered yesterday. And it was a guy like Gerardo Parra who had 13 points. Slates like that, it's just so opportune to be different.
Quick pause, and that's all it takes is like with Heaney pitched well for 5 innings, but he had one awful inning where his pitch count went up. They scored all the runs. And like, it doesn't mean that he was bad. He just had a rough patch for a little bit. And that's all that it takes in order to pounce and be the opposite, right? Like he wasn't awful all game, but a bad inning's a bad inning. And it happens in baseball all the time.
And with hitters, it's even, more random than that. Who's going to have the good game? Who the hell would have thought that Gerardo Parra would have been like a top 3 outfielder yesterday? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then for the night slate, like Steve Pearce was like this close to being brought up by me, and I was this close to using him, especially because one lineup I ended with his exact dollar amount, and I had him in there, pulled him, which ended up being a really bad move. But who the fuck thought Steve Pearce was going to hit 3 home runs? It's like, what, 30% of his homers for the year?
Right? Like, yeah, I'm with you, man. That sucks. I'm still really salty. A couple of days ago, I pulled Stroman. I pulled Manaea and Marisnik for Stroman and Reddick. Every time like you're bringing this up, like I cannot get that out of my head. I'm freaking pissed.
Yeah, I can't believe you pulled Manaea for Stroman. But
I knew I couldn't wait for you to rub that in. But who would have thought Marisnik would have been the difference there, right?
You never think Marisnik's going to be the difference. There's a reason they shipped his ass down to the minors, but he's back now with all those injuries. Let's talk tonight because we both agree this could be a really long one. But for the interest of getting through it, I feel like we could talk this slate for hours, but we don't want to. Okay.
Yeah, the slate is deep.
So starting at the top, Justin Verlander is the best pitcher, probably. Him and DeGrom are neck and neck, but I have zero interest in Justin Verlander tonight.
Okay, if you were spending up on a pitcher, would it be Verlander or DeGrom?
DeGrom.
I agree. The matchup with LA is not like obviously great right now. You think Verlander gets up for this spot, but still – I like DeGrom more. That being said, there's so many mid-tier guys I like. I'm probably not going to pay up for any. I think a lot of people will feel that way, though. And I do think like either one is fine if you want to play them.
Yep. I have zero interest in playing either of them. I do subtly prefer DeGrom just because we know how good he is at home. He's been good against Atlanta this year. But I have zero interest in paying this type of money for pitching right now. And the same goes for Patrick Corbin. Like, I don't mind Patrick Corbin. I don't think you're insane to like him, but the guy $700 cheaper than him is just, in my opinion, a better play.
Gonzalez is the better play. Corbin's probably the better pitcher with more upside. He has pitched really well against San Francisco this year, if I recall. I don't hate Corbin. I'm certainly not spending 10-4 on him, though.
Agreed. So for me, it starts at Marco Gonzalez, and I like Gonzalez a lot. This is a great spot for him. My only issue with him is there's still other guys I like cheaper, and a lot of the bats I like are expensive. So that's my biggest knock on Gonzalez today. But I'll start by saying that the other thing I have against him is they don't let him go too deep into games because they have a really solid bullpen. They don't seem to like to let guys go much deeper than 6 or 7 innings. So even if he gets through those quickly, which he has been, they still get him out there early. Marco Gonzalez has developed into almost like a tier 2 pitcher. Like, he's not an ace or anything like that, but remember that 3.37 ERA and whip under 1.2. He got off to a little bit of rougher start his first couple of games. Since then, he's pitched really, really well. His only less than stellar start in recent memory came at Yankee Stadium, and then he had a rough one at Boston. But who the hell wants to go pitch in Yankee Stadium or Boston? Those places are tough. The Blue Jays are atrocious against left-handed pitching. He's been lights out at home. I mean, I like him a lot. My only issue is it's still a little bit more than I want to spend.
So I like him. I agree with everything you said, but the problem for me in tournaments is everything you said. He's now expensive. He's like the upper tier of like the tier we like, which I get because he's been really good. But he's still averaging, less DK points than a bunch of these guys. And I don't think you're going to see a 30-point game from him. That being said, I mean, you probably will see a 20 to 25 game. Like that's probably what you'll get here.
I agree. And I do like him a little bit better in cash games because I think he's really safe. I mean, he just turned into a good pitcher. The Blue Jays are a big split team as far as their productivity against left-handed pitching. They're terrible against lefties, and Gonzalez is a nice, quality lefty. I also agree with you. I don't expect 35 from him. I do think he's a really solid player for 20 to 25. I wholeheartedly agree.
The worst part of it, when you're looking at the game log, is that what you mentioned, that even when he's getting through those innings quickly, like they're pulling him. So it's not necessarily a pitch count thing. That is awful.
Yeah. Like they don't let him go. Unless he's got a no-hitter going, he's not going to pitch 9 innings.
I mean, that's awful for from where we sit. That sucks.
All right. So
you want that going in when you use a pitcher at that price.
Yep. I like him a little more than you do. I prefer him in cash games. I think he's fine anywhere. But there are other guys I think are a little cheaper that allow me to get a little more offense that I like today. Clevenger, I know you're a big fan of his today.
If Trout's out.
Yeah, and that's what you were kind of saying, and I agree with that. If Trout's out, he's just a better play. He's another one. He's got some strikeout upside, even though LA doesn't strike out a ton, but that lineup weakens significantly if there's no Mike Trout. We won't know for a while, but this is an early enough game that we're going to know prior to the write-up coming out, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to watch. He's an option, and he's a much stronger option if Trout is out. I mean, the Angels lineup is awful.
Right. I still prefer Marco Gonzalez over him, and I'm not going to pair them together, but I don't discount what your thoughts are on him at all.
Yeah, they're close in my eyes. If Trout's out, it might sway it to Clevenger, but I still like Marco Gonzalez. So I think they're very similar here. I really do.
Okay, moving down there. I mean, Severino at 9,200 sounds like a great idea in theory, and at any point this dude could bounce back, but he's been better at home. He was awful at the Red Sox earlier this year. He's been really bad lately, and he's been getting lit up by bad teams, Tampa Bay and Kansas City. So why the hell would you toss him out there against Boston? I mean, we're now going on. He had the good start against Boston and Philly, but going back to that Seattle start, we're talking like 5 of 7 bad ones. He doesn't look like the Cy Young candidate that he did earlier in the year. So I'm not tossing him out there against the Boston team that beats down right-handed pitching.
No, if I didn't start him that one start at Boston earlier, like maybe I'd have GBP interest, but there's so many other options I like that I'm Xing a lot of guys off and trying to like draw a line in the sand,
Yep, definitely. Okay, Porcello, no interest. I mean, I don't mind Rick Porcello, but I'm not – when I got a 14-game slate and plenty of guys I like, I'm not looking to pick on the Yankees here.
No.
I don't think Alex Wood is an insane play because the Astros are really depleted. My problem with Alex Wood, again, kind of like Marco Gonzalez, even though I know we see a couple of times recently he went 100 pitches, he's not a major upside guy.
Okay, true, but I got a good point for you that I can't believe I didn't think of earlier. Who do you think what hitter worries you most, in the Astros lineup assuming their guys are still out?
Altuve?
Well, I was going to say, are Altuve, Correa, and Springer out?
Oh, you're going to talk about Evan Gattis maybe not playing. Yeah, that makes sense. But he could also play first today or maybe even play a catch. Has he caught it all this year?
No, I think they will only play him at DH. I don't think he's playing in the National League. And that lineup, although didn't you mention earlier in the week that Correa was coming back tonight?
Is it tonight? I know he's coming back soon. I don't know if it's tonight. I thought he was going out on an assignment at some point this week.
Okay, so.
Okay, yeah, I don't think it'll be tonight.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the Houston lineup, if Springer's out, like National League Park, they might be without their 4 best hitters.
And that my bigger knock on here is I just don't – there's other guys I like where Alex Wood just is not an upside guy. You know what I mean? Like he just doesn't give you the big performances that you can get from other people. So it's less about the Astros and just I'm not a giant Alex Wood. I actually think he's safe today, though, is a weird way to look at him. I just don't see 23 seems to be like his high end.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
Like if we drop down to below, I mean, like we talk negatively about Archer, but who's got a better shot at giving you 35, Chris Archer or Alex Wood?
I mean, no doubt, Archer. And the other side of what we're talking about with Archer, and we'll get into it in a second. If his head's on right tonight, like I understand why he's going to be popular. Like it's a calculated risk fading him. It's not like a guarantee he's gonna blow up here. Pittsburgh is like a -160 favorite here, like low total. Both of us feel the same way about it, though. If you want to get into it.
So here's my thoughts on Chris Archer is he's got like a 50-point discrepancy in where I think he could score tonight. I think -15 and +35 are both really realistic. I think the nerves are going to get to him. I want to fade him in GPPs. I agree. I think he'll be really popular, like 40 to 50 in cash and maybe like 33 in GPPs.
Yeah, and like how you kind of put it sometimes, like how popular he's going to be is not in correct ratio with like his chance of succeeding here, in our opinion, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Definitely. He's one of those guys who gets way too much love because he was good a few years back. He really hasn't been that good though. He was better last year for parts, but it's been like 3 seasons now where his ERA is over 4. He has higher strikeouts than most guys, so his DFS plays better. But there's a lot of games where he's bad.
And he is such an industry darling. People love him because of the strikeouts, like you said. And I've mentioned it a few times, like Chris Archer is now like that guy coming up, like the shining new toy in the National League that people get to play with. So like novice players are going to love him here. I mean, not that there are too many out there now, but his price tag gets everyone on him here. He's going to be the most popular pitcher on this slate. I think the Archer Velasquez combination is ultimately what takes the cake here.
Yeah, I can see that. Right down below Archer, though, I have a lot of interest in Anibal Sanchez.
I like Sanchez. I don't know. I like Sanchez. I don't love him here. I get the love for him. He's been really good. I mean, was he like rained out the other day?
Yeah, he got rained out the other day.
Okay.
He has pitched really well. He's pitched almost all good starts for Atlanta, which it seems like it's coming out of nowhere, but double digits in every start prior to the one against the Dodgers. And like we just brought this up, man, tossing a righty against the Dodgers right now is scary as a mofo. Like that is a good lineup, and they got going last night. So check that out going forward. But here's my biggest point. So you guys know yesterday the big point for me was stacking Braves, stacking Nationals. So I was back and forth between those games. And even though the Braves didn't score a bunch of runs, like the guys I liked, Acuna, Albies, Freeman, Camargo, they were all fine with the exception of Flowers. So I'm going back and forth between those two games, and I'm listening to the Washington announcers talk about how when the Mets were just there, they looked like a team who was literally just giving up. You know what I mean? You got Cespedes with the weird foot surgery all of a sudden. They got really nothing going on. After the Brandon Nimmo home run to lead off the game, they look completely lackluster all game long. This one could have potential weather issues, so that could take me away from him. But Atlanta's got everything to play for. Mets have nothing to play for, and they don't seem like we talked about Baltimore playing free and easy. The Mets seem like a team who just doesn't give a fuck.
I agree, and I've watched them a bunch recently, and that's not wrong. It just seems fishy to me. That's my biggest hesitation. And like I'm a big Vegas guy, like so. Obviously that plays a role in me. The Mets are like huge favorites here, and I know that DeGrom's on the other side, but like it opened at like -135. Now the Mets are like -150. Like that's fishy to me.
Well, that's what I like about that is because I know a lot of Vegas bettors, they're big on who the starting pitcher is, and Jacob DeGrom is one of the best in the business. So
I know, but public is like, I mean, most of the majority of here is on the Braves.
I'm sorry, I was yelling at my dog. I agree. I like that for Sanchez because I don't play for the win on DraftKings. We both talked about that. That means he's going to be looking to pitch his best game and up his game against DeGrom. And DeGrom's amazing. He's clearly one of the best pitchers in baseball. I actually think that's better for Sanchez personally.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. I think playing DeGrom and Sanchez is viable also.
Sure. Now, the one knock on that from both guys, though, is this does look like a game with potential weather issues, both nice weather as far as temperature goes, wind blowing out a little bit, and possible rain. So keep our eyes peeled on that. But if it seems hunky-dory, I think Sanchez is just a really safe play for about 20-some points against the Mets team that just doesn't seem to care.
I'll put it this way. On another slate, he might be my top option. On this slate, there's other guys I like more, so he might not make my short list, but he might. There's a chance. I mean, that there's a guy I love here.
Right. And we got a couple more guys here. So Velasquez against Miami. This is another one. If you tell me Velasquez is popular, I'm talking Fade City and GPPs right here because he's not perfect. There are times where he gets blown up and things like that. Unlike all the other Phillies, this isn't a guy who's been substantially better at home this season. He's kind of been about the same for the most part. You take out that Brewers start, and it's pretty much an even wash right there. So I get anybody who likes Velasquez, but I'm not dying to play him today.
I'm not dying to play him either. I mean, no. Every time he's popular, I'm not dying to play him. I mean, that's just a true statement. I know
this is a bit of hold up. This is a bit of a character of it, but if you go back almost 2 months, remember when he was super popular against Milwaukee and he got lit up? I'm not saying that'll happen today, but it's like that kind of a play like reminds you that like he is not bulletproof.
No, he's definitely not bulletproof. I feel indifferent towards him, and the fact that he's going to be popular like gets me off him. I think that he's a better cash game play because he's going to be popular. Pivetta, he's in a similar spot as Pivetta, not as good of a pitcher, similar upside.
Yeah, I don't know who the better pitcher is between him and Pivetta. My mind probably changes on that one every time they pitch, but I agree. I liked Pivetta better yesterday because of the options than I do Velasquez today. But I completely understand why anybody would want to play him. But like that big start recently was against San Diego. Like I feel like most of his monster starts in his career have come against San Diego.
I don't know about that because he probably hasn't played them too much. But
I know his biggest start of his career where he had those like 16 Ks 2 years ago, that was against San Diego. So that's all I was thinking.
No, I get you. Man, the Marlins aren't a bad matchup either, though. If his game is on, he can strike these guys out. We talked about that. We don't want to pay like elite pitching, against Miami. He's in play. He's fine.
The Marlins are a bad baseball team that gets up for good pitchers. And it was kind of the Braves used to be the same way where they would be really good. What's that?
Do you think he's like that?
No, I don't. He's not. He's not Jacob deGrom. He's not Max Scherzer. We get more scared off of those guys against the Marlins than we do. This is more about Velasquez to me.
Yeah, this is the type of guy that can like go and ball against the Marlins, and everyone will look at the Marlins and say like they suck and whatever. But you're right, like random guys will do this against them. He's almost, I know I've been using this guy and comparing him a lot, but he reminds me a little bit of like a right-handed Rodon.
Sure, I can see that. That makes sense to me. On any given day, for sure, that makes a lot of sense. The other thing for Velasquez, he's another guy. He doesn't go deep into games. You know what I mean? They pull him generally fairly early, which is kind of the same problem with Marco Gonzalez. So it's couple-fold right there. The other reason I think that both of us are a little bit fishy on Velasquez and Archer is because of guys like Sanchez and a couple of guys we're about to get to, where there is ways to be different today. And if you tell me Velasquez, Archer, and Chalk, Fade City, and GPPs, and I want to go, Marquez Sanchez or Sanchez Odorizzi or Marquez Richards or something like that.
Yeah, and there's another cheaper guy that we'll get to that I like that. This is like a guy that you've been on that I think you've been on that we'll get to. But do you have any interest in Odorizzi here?
A little. I mean, if he's not going to be popular just because Kansas City's awful, he's been real up and down this year. So trying to predict how he's going to pitch, I don't know, man. Like he just had a rough start against Boston, but he's a right-hander at Boston. That's a rough spot to be. He dominated Kansas City just a little over 10 days ago.
It's tough to go there on this slate. I don't hate it, but it's tough.
I agree. I definitely agree.
If it was 6K still, I'd be all about it.
But it's another spot to be different. And what I mean by that is kind of like your point. Like if Velasquez and Archer are chalk, the odds of like they're not in that much better of a spot than Odorizzi is. So, I mean, if Odorizzi goes for 20 and Archer goes for -2, that's a huge difference.
It's a great point.
I mean, that's a Bellman point for you, but I agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving down from there. This guy used to be my darling. Now he's Matt's darling. You like him more than me, but I don't disagree with your points. He's been excellent lately. Milwaukee's striking out more and more. I don't like him as much as you do tonight, but I don't disagree with anything you're saying.
So besides the fact that he's probably the best pitcher in baseball, no. So he's obviously been awesome. Like the Colorado staff in general has been really good, and he's probably been their best guy. But the other reason I like them is for the opposite reasons of why you like a couple Milwaukee bats and why you don't like Marquez. I think that pressure's on Milwaukee here. Colorado just had a tough series in St. Louis. They lost a couple of games they should have won. now headed to a new series. I like that for them. Milwaukee headed home after a really successful road trip. I like Milwaukee a lot tomorrow. I don't like them today, and I am just so happy that Marquez is on the hill today because that was something I was thinking about before. And I've been all over Marquez recently, so I'll ride or die with him here.
I get it. My default position is going up against a good team in just a great hitter's park. So it's not a great spot for success, but I would not be shocked at all by 20 plus today.
And I'm firmly aware, and I've said this and I asked you that, I'm kind of like, been thinking about Marquez and been wanting to use him on whenever he goes right now. Obviously, I wouldn't use him like in a horrible matchup in Coors, but I'm well aware that like I might be overlooking the matchup a little bit.
Right? Like the Milwaukee offense now, by adding Scope and Moustakas, is really about as deep as they come. I'm not saying it's as good as some of the other offenses. Like I think if the Dodgers are on full stride, they're better. Nationals, if they're fully striding, are better. Red Sox are obviously better. But 1 through 7, until you get to that catching position, it's a really good lineup and tough to navigate through everybody now that they're too deeper in quality offensive players. So
one more thing I'll say is that like we just talked about those guys that don't go deep into games. Marquez goes deep.
Yeah, they've been letting them rock now. How many straight games? They let them go deeper than most guys.
Their bullpen just cost him a couple games. Like I like this spot for him to go deep if he's pitching well.
That's the catch-22 right there. Like sometimes you like the upside idea of going deep, but there's a lot of times, including that start at Philly where you started getting on Marquez that I liked him that day, that you keep him out there too long and a good start turns into a bad start.
I was like the first, like I was on Philly bats that day, and like that was like the turnaround right there.
Right, and that's kind of why I remember when the whole narrative got flipped with us. All right, the other guy that while everybody plays Velasquez, he's been damn good his last couple of starts, Trevor Richards, including dominating Philly just all of 3 weeks ago.
Interesting here. What are your thoughts like on using him? Not how good he's been, on actually using him tonight.
I think it's another spot where remember how good Washington's been post All-Star break. He just kicked the shit out of him with 26.5 points. He's another guy, though. As a rookie, it's really difficult to know, or as a young guy, it's really difficult to know what he's going to bring today because they're really, really erratic. I have no issues using him, but I know that there's a risk associated with it. Yeah, he's only given up 10 hits over the last 19 innings, and he's struck out 18 guys in that time period, but I'm not at all shocked if he goes negative today.
Same. He's going to get no love.
Right? And that's where this is such a Bellman slate. If you're fully convicted on the fact that Velasquez and Archer are going to be the industry darlings for tonight, which doesn't surprise me at all, man, I want to go Richards Sanchez or Richards Marquez, Marquez Richards, and just be different there and hope Velasquez and Archer get the crap beat out of them, which is possible.
But here's the Ryan point to that, though. Like, there aren't two guys. Like, there's other options to go to. But that doesn't mean that they're going to succeed either. You know what I mean?
True. Other point to this one, I actually think it's really possible Richards, Marquez, Odorizzi, Velasquez, Sanchez, Archer, they all pitch well. And it may not even matter. Like, they might all end up between 26 and 16 points.
Okay. But if you used a lesser-owned guy and you get to 26, like, you're still in a real good spot, which is, like, your whole point in a nutshell. So who do you like more here? Do you like Odorizzi more, or do you like Richards? Like, completely opposite guys.
Oh, man.
That's tough.
That is really tough. And this is where sometimes I feel like I can't give you guys good answers when you ask me Facebook questions like, who do you like better? Well, it's not necessarily in baseball a matter of liking somebody better. I can't control, like, Aguilar last night. Like, I know he got a home run later, but if you had liked him, for example, he comes up with two guys on and hits the ball with 110 exit velo, but right at Justin Turner. Like, that's the kind of stuff you can't control. Like, I liked Bryce Harper a lot last night. And he wasn't good. He was okay because they didn't give him anything to hit. He wasn't good until the last pitch. He almost doesn't get that at bat. If Turner doesn't hit that home run, he doesn't get that one. Like, there's so many variables that it's just so tough to say, oh, he's the better player today.
Yeah, it's really tough to – when we get, like, Facebook questions, who do you like better, or when it's, someone shows us a lineup, like, I know you hate that because it's so, like, we're put in a no-win situation there. Like, what do you want us to say? It's really difficult.
Like, if you ask me, like, sure, maybe this is my favorite, but I bring it back to the coin flip game in poker, where I would rather have pocket jacks than ace king, but I also know that ace king wins 45% of the time, and so it's really just you're just guessing. You know what I mean? And the guess can be a difference between 60 points with Steve Pearce last night and a 0 for Tyler Flowers.
Which is like exactly why I love playing with how my gut feels in baseball, because I think that that's just when all not even when all feels like what, like you just said, it's so random anyways. So that's a difficult one. Back to the Richards or Odorizzi. I don't know, man. Because Richards is in such a worse matchup, but Odorizzi sucks. I don't know.
Right? I don't know either. All right. So moving down from there, I mean, we got a couple of guys that I don't think are insane, but I don't really have much interest in anybody below there. Like Guerra's all right, but no thanks. Gio pitched a little better last time out, but he's mostly been bad the last couple months since he's a lot better against lefties. For me, I'm probably done after Richards.
There's one guy I like a little cheaper. This is the guy. I'm not sure if you've been on him. Baraki.
I like Baraki. I was big on him last start. I featured him on the public video. I don't like him at Seattle.
I don't love him at Seattle, but I like the price a lot, and he's been really impressive. I've watched a lot of his last couple starts. He's just looked really good.
My big thing here is he's still not a big upside guy. He had a really good start against Detroit, but now I feel like, and we kind of talked about this lately, and I feel like this has turned a corner for me a little bit in MLB DFS, which is like, don't play guys for safety that are pitchers necessarily when you got a full slate. I want the upside guys. Like Richards to me has much higher upside than Baraki against Seattle. Doesn't mean it's going to work out that way. I just don't like tossing lefties at Seattle when they got to get through Gene Segura, Mitch Haniger, and Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, and Cruz is on fire right now. So it's point well taken. I wish I liked a guy a lot to pair with Marquez, but I'm sure it'll come out.
Well, that's the thing is like maybe I like him more than you do, but even though we've been hard on Archer, like I like this whole set of Archer, Sanchez, Velasquez, Odorizzi, Marquez, Richards. I think they're all very viable. Gives you a lot of options.
You're getting me on Richards. I mean, he's got 3 straight 20 pluses. I mean, no one's going to be on him, and he's the cheapest. I'm really trying right now, unless there's guys I like at the top, to spend as much down on pitching as I can.
And as good as Philly is as a team, they're not a great offense.
No, they're not. They have strikeouts in there too, for sure.
I know Franco's playing better right now, and Hoskins has just been a man possessed lately, and Herrera's having a nice season. But there's a lot of holes in that team. Cesar Hernandez is massively slumped. You know what I mean? And other than those couple of guys, who do you fear on this team? Because the back half of the lineup is shit.
And I don't even honestly, and you know how I play, but the difference in ownership between Archer and Richards is reason enough for me to play Richards. I've been playing some crazy pitchers recently, because the ownership angle is just where it's at right now in baseball, I think.
And I've been barely touching cash games because you've been doing a lot of the write-ups lately, so I haven't had to feel like I have the courage of my conviction to play them. And mostly sticking to GPPs. And GPPs are just better in baseball by a long shot because of the discrepancy in point totals and being able to play the ownership game.
Yeah, man. Just as yesterday's day slate, we already talked about it. It's a perfect example.
All right, so let's move over to offenses now. And for me, assuming the game is good to go, guys, I have all the interest in the world in going right back to the Washington Nationals.
Okay, I understand the love for the Nationals. I think that they're starting to get a lot of love, and I think that they make a lot of sense here. I don't mind them at all. I'm not sure I'm going to go back there. Another team that I know that I've liked this guy recently, but they seem like they're kind of playing really well again, is Tampa against Giolito.
Yeah, they have been. And guys like Bowers, I think he makes a lot of sense. I don't like Tampa as much as you do, but I don't disagree with you at all.
I think that they're, again,
under the radar for sure.
Exactly. And that's where I start. So yeah, I think that, although I will say it's hard to find that obvious spot, because what's weird is a lot of the good hitting teams are facing good pitchers, and so the bad pitchers are facing teams we don't really like to target, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about Arizona here?
Against Stratton?
Yeah.
Arizona hasn't exactly been lighting the world on fire lately. Stratton is the best way to describe him. Blah.
Mediocre.
You know what I mean? I don't expect him to pitch deep in this game, so I don't know who's coming out of the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Arizona go off on slates like this, though. AJ Pollock, they've got guys that can go off. That's what I'll say about them. Stratton's not good. And they have bases loaded both in the first and second inning against Bumgarner yesterday. Finished the game with 1 run. Explosion could be happening. Again, trying to look a little bit under the radar.
Definitely. How about Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland's really hard to freaking afford now. I mean, they were always hard to afford, but now, you better be spending way down on both your pitchers.
So here's my point for Cleveland. 1, 2, yes, they are very expensive. But you don't full out stack Cleveland. You mini stack them with Ramirez and Lindor. You know what I mean? Get those guys at top. I think they go under the radar today because Barria's not terrible. But we all know that Cleveland had a day off, which I think is great for him, getting home from a road trip. It's not we had to rush home from the West Coast yesterday or anything like that. We've been sitting at home for a day now, ready to go. I think they will get a little bit overlooked today. And Ramirez and Lindor on any slate have upside that is tough to match.
Yeah, and the Angels, I always say it, their bullpen's the worst in the majors.
Right. So I do think you can get Lindor-Ramirez combination at sub 15% today.
I mean, how many times have you seen the Indians, especially those guys, go off late in games off bullpens? It happens.
How many times have you seen them go off every single day? They're really good.
I will tell you, though, how good is Suarez?
Really good. I have a lot of interest in Suarez today. So third base to me is a pretty loaded position. And since we're on it, let's go a little out of order today. I like Ramirez. I don't think it's a perfect matchup, but Nolan Arenado has a history of raking when he gets to Milwaukee, and he's just a really good baseball player. I love Suarez today. I like Carpenter a lot today. Bregman versus Alex Wood. I mean, this is a loaded position today. And even though I don't specifically like Anthony Rendon, he's part of a stack for me, which is the best offense to look from today. So it is a loaded position.
The leverage of Carpenter is where it's at.
Right? I mean, Archer gives up home runs, plain and simple.
But here's my question, though. So the leverage for Carpenter is about as good as you can get with an elite player because no one's going to own him probably because Archer. But I don't think that he's in as good of a spot as Suarez. Obviously it's Jose Ramirez. But to that same point, if I'm fading Archer, I suspect that the Cardinals are going to hit him. So, I feel like I almost got to play Carpenter, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll go as far as say you have to play Carpenter, but I do think you can get the best. I don't know. I don't know if he's the best, but one of the best DFS players the last 2 months, and a rare sub 10% ownership day.
I'm with you. I like that play a lot. I think that third base is loaded.
Yeah, because if I had to pick a favorite, Ramirez is my favorite, but that extra $800 or $900 is a lot. It's probably Suarez. He is a beast against lefties. Gonzalez has been struggling. I'm a big fan of his today. I think this is a spot where
last night.
What's that? Yeah, exactly. And Scherzer doesn't give up homers to righties, and Suarez is a huge split guy as far as lefty and righties, and he still took Scherzer yard. This is an emerging superstar. I always had my doubts about him coming into this year. I thought he was a little overrated. He's proven me wrong. He is an elite right-handed hitter against lefties. I mean, people want to talk about Christian Villanueva. This guy's on another level. He's becoming a superstar, like you said it best. The crazy part to me about the National League statistics this year is Aguilar and Suarez are all over the top of the leaderboards and everything, well, except for stolen bases. And both of these dudes barely Suarez didn't play the first month, and Aguilar did nothing but pinch hit.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Right. If I was talking to a guy, there's a guy in one of my year-long fantasy leagues who's always trying to make shitty trades, and he's trying to tell me that Mikolas and Aguilar is a good trade. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Aguilar.
You trade for who?
He thinks he's Mikolas is rated 38 and Aguilar is 75. I'm like, I'm not interested in your stupid numbers that you come up with based on this. I
hate when people come to me with those stupid rankings.
Right.
If those rankings are so good, why are you trying to make the deal, dude?
Yeah, why would Mikolas is not a strikeout pitcher, right? So you don't get anything in that category. The only thing he really helps me on is he's decent ERA and whip and quality starts. But Aguilar, since the first month of the season, is second in the NL in RBIs, home runs, good batting average and everything. So why would I make that trade? Anyways, that's a side point. It's loaded at top of third base
You know
today.
who's not getting any love here, and it's because there's a lot of other good spots in there at home. Oakland.
I was just going to say, I was just literally looking at Matt Chapman right there.
Like, Oakland sneaky because I know that they're better on the road, but you know what? Blaine Hardy's not good, and the Detroit bullpen's not good.
But he's not bad either.
He's not awful.
I don't love Oakland today, but yeah, they'll definitely be underlooked.
Who do you like more, Oakland or Arizona?
Arizona.
I like Arizona more too, but I think they're both like in the same like kind of grouping.
And even though we like Richards, Maikel Franco with the walk-off last night is just playing a lot better baseball right now. So maybe not today, but keep your eyes peeled on him. Tim Beckham playing much better baseball recently. And even though we didn't love this game last night, it ended up going off, and Beckham had 3 more hits.
Yeah, now that Texas like went off, I kind of like the Baltimore side better tonight if I'm going to go there.
Yeah, you think Texas will be super popular tonight?
It's a huge slate, so not like, as not like crazy, but they'll garner a lot,
Right. And then you also get the mixture of DFS players. Half the people still point chase, and half the people who, quote unquote, want to be better than you won't point chase on purpose. Right? So it's weird like that.
It's so stupid. Like everything is its own, like there's no rule that you have to point chase that you don't have to. Everything is in itself. I happen to, that spot is like the same to me as it was last night, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, Texas was great last night, but Cashner had actually been pretty decent. So I don't feel bad fading them. They were awesome. I mean, Odor with 5 walks and a home run, Profar with a big game, Gallo with a big game. If you used them last night, you were spot on correct because they were amazing.
You know who's been really good that I actually wanted to mention a couple of days ago? That is Caleb Joseph for Baltimore.
Yeah, I looked at him earlier because he had been good.
Like, I know he homered yesterday, so cheap catcher, another one. We like him.
All right, so just sticking on third base, though, guys. Like, this is a spot where I would run variants in my GPPs tonight. And I would play a J. Ram. I would play a Nolan Arenado. I'd play a Suarez, a Carpenter, and things like that. It's definitely a position you want to spend up at.
Definitely.
And even if, like Moustakas, I know we both kind of like Marquez, but Moose is 4,100 for a pretty good lineup. So there are ways to go. All right, moving over to catcher.
I was going to say, how do we even end up at third base?
We were talking about Jose Ramirez, and since we're there, I figured we'd go off the wall a little bit.
I feel like we skipped the first couple, but I couldn't remember.
For me, I'm just kind of locking in Perez today, and he's going to bat middle of the order. We even brought him up on public. He's cheap, middle of the order against a bad team.
I like Tampa a lot, so I told you before I made it public, I like Perez a ton here.
Okay. This is the spot that I just like. For me, cash GPPs, just put him in your lineup.
Although I will say, we just mentioned Caleb Joseph's in play.
We did. I still feel better about Perez because he's still I love middle of the order versus the last guy in the lineup.
I agree. How cheap is Joseph? Just checking.
33, I think.
Okay, so he's a little bit more expensive.
31.
Okay, so a little bit more expensive anyway. So, yeah, I think that we like Perez more, but, to each his own. If you want to play Joseph, go ahead.
All right, moving over to first base, and we'll go through these quickly. Again, we've talked Carpenter already. You can play him at either spot. Joey Gallo. I mean, this dude's always in play because of his home run ability. We just saw Texas go off. They got another pretty good matchup with Hess. Yeah, he works at any time. He's always better than GPPs, though, because he is literally 100% reliant on the home run. Like, for him to have a 3-hit night like that is rare.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Bowers. I prefer him over Crone today as part of Tampa stack if you like him the way Matt does.
I like Bowers there, and I like Goldschmidt up top too.
Okay. I'm not as big on Goldie, but to each his own. He's Paul Goldschmidt. I understand why anybody would like him. You got Daniel Murphy and Matt Adams right here. I watched a bunch of Adams at bats last night, and he just got under it a couple of times. You know what I mean? Like he was just missing. And Matt Wieters could be used in a Washington stack as well. He missed a grand slam by a foot last night.
Good catch by Hamilton on that ball. I thought that was gone off the bat. So did the announcers.
Yeah, I missed it. I had turned the channel over to the Braves game because I didn't have Wieters in my lineup, but they brought it up about 94 more times during the game. So I also like Aguilar a lot tonight too. And going off the eye test, I was about to tweet this last night because I watched his at-bats. He had a rough patch after the All-Star break, no doubt about it, but now he's seen the ball really well. late homer yesterday. He also hit the ball as hard as you can earlier in the game. He just hit it right at Justin Turner. His walk in the first inning against Clayton Kershaw. To fight back against Kershaw like that and draw a walk after being out down 0-2 or 1-2, really impressive. It's a good price for him.
I agree. And then I feel like if you need a cap saver, it goes right back to Justin Bour off Velasquez in tournaments.
Definitely.
It was just too cheap because, like, look at all the guys we're passing, you know?
Yeah. Bour's, he's a home run guy. You know what I mean? If he takes one deep, he's really capable of doing it. The guy's about 8 feet tall, 400 pounds. So he can hit him with the best of them. He's just, for me, he's kind of like Joey Gallo. He is so reliant on the home run, but he is very capable of hitting him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Pablo Sandoval out for the year. Oh, man, yeah. There goes the chances for the Giants, huh? God, it's so enticing when you look at how cheap the Dodgers are today versus Verlander. But then it's like you have to remind yourself that don't get fooled by the prices. Verlander just doesn't get hit hard. Like, he doesn't have bad starts.
It is enticing, though, because you can fit, like, elite pitching with them.
I think if you're playing that, though, like, you are literally hoping that he gets injured early in the game. And that's not how you want to play on a 14-game slate.
I'd much rather use a cheap offense that people don't like against the shitty pitcher than a good cheap offense because they're facing an elite pitcher. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Verlander gets up for big starts, and he's
elite pitchers hardly ever get blown up. We talk about that. Exactly. Elite of the elite, like.
I have no issues if you want to use Odor tonight. I can't prioritize him at 5,100. Great night last night. 5 walks for him is huge and a home run to boot, but that's a big price tag to prioritize him. But if you want to do it, I get it.
Yeah, I get it too. It's man, it's expensive for a guy that we like a lot.
Exactly. Moving down from there, Daniel Murphy, you kind of brought him up already. He's seen the ball better now. You know, had a hit and a walk last night. You know, rolled into 9 points as the Washington offense rolls. Desclafani has given up double-digit home runs to lefties already this year, and he's affordable.
Yeah, second base is, like, weak in my eyes here.
You know, you got your Rays guys, which I don't love them, but I get that. And Brian Dozier he seems to like LA, but again, it's Verlander. You know what? TJ LeMahieu at 3,500. You know, if you're looking for some cap space, it's been a disappointing year for him, and I don't like him as much against righties, but he bats second in the order or leadoff for a good baseball team. So it's not crazy. He's just getting back from the DL. Like, everything about this is not a good spot for DJ LeMahieu, but the fact is he's a good player for 3,500.
Agreed. I don't mind LeMahieu here. This is what I also like about Tampa. They've got 2 guys, Wendell and Robertson, under 4K as part of the stack.
Oh, shit.
VR. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, VR. I think VR is just a great play today because of his price tag.
Yeah. Are they playing him every day? I don't
know. That's his first day back from the DL. I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either because LineStar doesn't have him as a projected starter.
Okay. I have no clue. I would assume so, and I'll just lean on what we both said on the public video. Like, who the hell else are they going to play? I mean, VR is a guy who I actually didn't like losing from Milwaukee. I was kind of surprised he didn't get more playing time this year because there's a lot of stretches where he looked like a good baseball player. He plays solid defense. He makes a few mistakes on the base pass, but I love his aggressive running on there.
Like, honestly, as good as VR was, what was it, 2 years ago? Like,
yeah,
that was as better than Scope's ever been.
Right? He was really, really good, and he plays solid defense. So I didn't love giving up on him. I felt like he should have gotten more consistent playing time this year, and he can hit for power. He's hitting in a good ballpark, and if he's batting leadoff against David Hess and his 1.5 whip, I just think you lock him in today at a week.
Hess is starting for Baltimore.
Oh, yeah. My bad.
It's 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. Because who are we looking at? Gerardo.
Yeah, doesn't he sing Rico Suave?
Yeah.
No, that's Gerardo. My bad.
I mean, yeah, he's just the same thing, right?
Yeah. Maybe he's better than Hess. Why he's priced more, but I'm not going to pretend like I know much about him. So, for me, you just lock in VR for the cap savings.
Agreed. in cash games.
Right? Like
Go ahead.
Odor is a way better player, but VR is 1,800 less. So it's a punt
As
play.
we always talk about in baseball, that doesn't matter that he's a better player for one night. And honestly, like, would you be surprised? Like, I'm not even kidding. In 2 weeks, like if Odor goes on one of his patented Odor stretches where he strikes out every at bat and VR happens to get hot at the top of this lineup, that VR is more expensive than Odor. Like, that's not crazy at all. That's baseball for you. So I do think, honestly, in GPPs, unless you're using someone in your stack, which is, I like to do, but you can only stack 5 guys. VR is so viable because second base sucks.
Right. For me, you either pay all the way up to Odor, you go down to Murphy, or you pay down to VR. And I like Murphy, I like Odor, but I'm not finding guys I like at 3,300 anywhere else.
I'm with you on that. I mean, not the way DK is pricing now, VR almost seems like if this were a month ago, it'd be like VR is 2.3K,
Put it this way, if VR becomes the everyday second baseman for Baltimore and he's leading off every day, he's got the potential to be a 5K player by year's end if he got hot because of the stolen bases that he offers. And when you have nothing to play for, I mean, I'm sure they'll run his ass ragged.
And on this slate, for how they're priced guys up, he should be like 4K, 4,200 with these other guys.
Agreed. All right, moving over to shortstop. If you want to play Francisco Lindor, he's good. I don't know if that's any breaking news to anybody. He's really good. Go do your thing. But it's really tough for me to get away from Trey Turner right now. And we went into detail about him. I mean, that's what sucks about last night more than anything is I had full Trey Turner exposure, and I still didn't do well because of Steve Pierce and a couple other guys going off. But he's got 6 steals his last 3 games. 4 of his last 5 are multiple stolen base games. If he gets on first base, he's running.
Freaking, I'm pissed because I had full Turner and Hedges exposure and, still just outside because I didn't use those big guys.
And we're not even talking about the fact that, like, Brian Johnson, after giving up that first inning home run, I saw people on Twitter, I can't believe Johnson. Not our customers.
I got a few messages from our customers about how my night's done. I use Johnson, and I had to remind people it's a long night. It was only 7:15.
Yeah, I find that funny. Like, you guys got to wait it out a little bit, and he ended up he was best pitcher of the night, dollars considered.
Yeah, he was really good.
So he was money. All right. Third base we've talked over. Again, it's difficult for me to get away from Trey Turner, period. He's just in the zone right now.
Definitely. When I'm looking at this slate more and more, Arizona and Tampa are the stacks that are kind of sticking out to me in tournaments. And that's part of the reason I love these videos is because that happens. And I mean, on Friday nights, these big slates, like being different, it's in tournaments. I think that there's like some, like you love Washington and that makes a lot of sense. But as you said, I'm trying to look a little bit more under the radar.
Just a quick side note, Adalberto Mondesi is not a guy like I'm going out of my way to take a look at, but he's also running a ton lately and batting on top of that order. So
you know who he is? That's, remember Raul Mondesi from the Dodgers?
Yeah, he had an arm only rivaled by Puig.
Yeah, that's his son that also used to be named Raul, but changed his name like a year ago.
Yeah, he's running. So if he was less expensive, this is a guy I would use for cap space. But that's another reason to love VR is even guys like Mondesi are freaking 4K.
Exactly.
Jose Iglesias is 4K.
Right? Like, I love using him on those day slates when he gets no love. He was really good for me a couple days ago.
Tim Beckham. I think the middle of the infield for Baltimore tonight is like a great way to get cap space. The 1-2 punch, assuming they're batting leadoff in second. Sure. And then it gets ugly after this, I believe. That about does it for me.
Yeah, it gets real ugly.
All right, moving over to the outfield. Even if he plays today, I'm not really interested in Trout because of Clevenger. Severino's been bad lately, but I'm still not like trying to stack Boston. I do like Benintendi a lot today because he has just owned Severino. Look at these stats. 10 of 22, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, and only 4 strikeouts by comparison. And Sev's been bad lately.
Yeah. Yeah, I let you like Benintendi a lot, so I think he's a more than viable one-off. I'm not going to stack Boston here, but
that brings me to a side note. What do you think the ownership on Boston will be today?
Low. It's not
low?
For me. Yeah, low. Real low. Don't you?
They were a lot higher owned last night than I expected, considering CC really hasn't gotten lit up much lately, and he just dominated Boston a couple days before that. So I was surprised at how high owned they were last night. And I think they will be low tonight. But it's still Boston, and I do think people probably can look on Severino and see how bad he's been lately. So I don't know, guys like JD and Mookie between 5 and 10%.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
I'm not really looking to stack them, but again, the Ben and Tiende, those numbers are overwhelming.
Yeah, they're really they're only 4Ks. I'm with it. So one guy, just to backtrack for a second, shortstop that I like that's cheap, Marwin Gonzalez. So we've talked about how Houston's going to be missing, a lot of their lineup. He's been bad against lefties all year, right? But he homered twice against lefties 2 days ago. Seems to be seeing the ball well right now.
I didn't know that, so good call. Yelich came back last night still. That's too much for me to spend up on him. I got a lot of trouble, especially in cash games. I think he just played Bryce Harper.
Yeah, in cash games, you lock Harper in. I mean, now he's the Bryce Harper that, everyone wants him to be all the time. He looks like he's the best player in baseball right now.
Yeah, he's been really good post All-Star break and really good since they floated his name in the trade block. Like his at-bats last night, even like the strikeout. Like I talked about this in public. Like you can make every argument it should have been another walk. He had an opposite field single to lead off, walked, struck out on a pitch that really easily should have been called ball 4 and walked again, and then hit a mammoth home run to clean up the game. Like he is zoned in right now. You remember Bryce Harper from the opening month when he was a good baseball player? He looks like that again.
When he's locked in like this, he controls the zone like better than almost any hitter.
With the exception of like a Joey Votto. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And maybe not even Votto this year. Like Trout. Well, Trout
just gets every call because, his eye is so good. So a lot of borderline pitches, in my opinion, that should be strikes get called balls on Trout.
Agreed. And Harper gets the same treatment when he's going well. And he is going well right now. Desclafani has given up double-digit home runs to lefties this year. I think Bryce Harper is just like the guy you lock in for cash games, and I'll probably almost give him full exposure in GPPs.
Yeah, you love him here. I get it.
If I make a point that we always make, like I never loved Bryce Harper.
That's true. I have interest just in that. The guys that stick out to me here are Pollock because I like Arizona, and then Chris Davis.
I am not as interested in Chris Davis as you are, but he's a really good baseball player, so I get it.
No one even talked about him all that whole Toronto series, and he wasn't great, but
he's good,
right?
My problem is he stinks against lefties. He's a weird reverse split guy, and I know he'll only get maybe 2 at bats against Hardy. And he is one of the only Oakland guys though who is actually good at home.
Yeah, and were his numbers a little bit better, these power-wise against lefties this year? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't really remember. I mean, he's just a good baseball player.
Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, this is probably the best he's ever played. Like this year is his best year.
All right, we like Richards, but it's you at this point you cannot deny what Rhys Hoskins is doing. This is what all double-digit games since the All-Star break, except for 1.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like it's kind of going under the radar a little bit too in the DFS community because every time I play him, unless it's a small slate, he's not even that highly owned.
I agree.
So Hoskins works, and this is all these guys are another reason we want to pay down at pitching today because there are so many great options up top.
Mm-hmm.
Soto, this guy is hell. He might be better than Bryce Harper right now. I know that sounds blasphemous, but this guy is a baller. He has got such masterful control of the strike zone at this point. You could talk about him last night, like his actions and his expressions. You can tell he gets it now. There's no doubt in his mind. He knows he's a really good baseball player. He wouldn't be another guy. I would not be surprised if he homered tonight. And I don't actually think he's better than Bryce Harper already, but he's amazing.
Who would you take, Soto or Acuna?
Probably Soto. I mean, I can't pretend like I know these guys that well yet. So he's just played better this year.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'll say that.
Yep. All right. So those guys all make a ton of sense. I mean, I'm not looking to use Chu here necessarily, but if you like Chu, I get it. He is striking out like a madman lately, though.
Yeah, a guy I'm looking at here, I know I said I kind of like Baraki, but Nelson Cruz hit the longest home run I've seen all year last night, except for Christian Walker randomly home run earlier. And then he homered later in the game. He's seeing the ball well right now.
Sure, and he'll get overlooked today.
Oh, yeah. Late game for sure.
We talked about him the other day when he homered. Is it
Yeah,
rated different off Ramirez and Lindor, and he homered that day.
and he just missed another one that game.
Right. All right, Matt. You were right. I was wrong. Cruz is still better than Haniger.
Yeah, Haniger's really gone down, huh? And Cruz is just that guy that, like, you might think that he's gone downhill, but when you look up, he's got 40 homers and 110 RBIs, you know?
Yeah, he's still an elite power hitter, no questions about it. I mean, he got only Judge and Stanton really trump his exit velo, like average per hit.
If you leave a cookie up to him, I mean, he hits it out. It's awesome. And he hits good pitching, too.
Yeah, he's, like I said, other than Judge and Stanton, nobody exit velos like Nelson Cruz. Nobody has that bat off the ball sound like Nelson Cruz, with the exception of those guys. Even Trout and Harper don't quite get the same like sound and exit velo that Cruz does.
You know, the Indians, like, and don't get me wrong, Encarnacion is good, but like when Encarnacion was with Toronto, he was like Cruz. Like I thought they were very similar in how their presence in the box. Cruz is better than Encarnacion, and I wish that weren't the case.
All right.
I do think that, like, yeah, because if you want to play like the Tampa stack, you probably want some Chrome. So I like that Bowers at least has outfield eligibility, because when Choi's in the lineup also, it makes it really difficult.
Yes, sir. I'm sure you probably like. Yeah, he is. I'm sure you like Souza then.
Sure.
Matt Adams, again, he just getting under it yesterday. Kiermaier, if you like Tampa, like his upside is with everybody because of his speed. Like he can triple like a madman too. So there's that.
I'll say, I know I like Clevenger, but Upton looked good yesterday. And he placed a double off a guy no one else could touch in the first inning.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did. All right, Mancini also locked in. Did he hit the 9th inning homer yesterday?
Yeah. It's so crazy that we've gone down this far and we're still not even, below 4K.
Exactly. This is just, it goes to speak to why VR is such a great play tonight.
Right. Exactly.
One spot for cap space. Mancini, you can go right back at him. He's pretty locked in right now. Castellanos is just not himself anymore. I mean, his at-bats look bad. He's not hitting it hard. I mean, this is another guy, post-All-Star break slump, my Lord. Because if this had been a month ago, we would have been salivating to play him against Brett Anderson at 4,100.
Oh, my God, on this slate at 4,100? Yeah, and if this had been a month ago, he might be 5K on this slate.
Yeah, I'd be half chubbed if this was a month ago and he'd been playing like that, because he's just was amazing. But he's been terrible since post-All-Star break. And I know that can flip at any point, but he has given us no reason to believe that's going to flip today.
I agree. You know, another team that like kind of is sticking out that's I don't think getting any love, and we haven't even mentioned one of their players, is Minnesota.
Yeah, because they suck.
They do suck, but like so does the pitcher they're playing, and that's true with a lot of teams on this slate. Like Baltimore sucks, but we still have a couple of their players.
That's true. I could see Sano hitting a home run, or Rosario hasn't played well lately, but we know he's a good player.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love him. I'm just like, again, thinking outside the box. Calhoun was good last night, huh? Oh, damn. I thought he was much better than that.
Oh, everybody on the Rangers was pretty freaking good last night. They scored, what, 30?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, this is what makes things difficult. Again, I'll say it one more time. This is why VR makes so much sense, and Perez, because you're just not getting spend down spots anywhere else.
How about your boy Leonis Martin?
Where's he batting in the lineup? I guess would be a big thing for me. I'd have to see that.
Yeah, me too. I wonder where he's going to bat in the lineup.
Shields had a nice game too.
I don't mind him batting leadoff against righties. He won't, but I don't mind it.
Piscotty, I guess.
We passed Ozuna yet?
No, I don't think so.
What do you think about going right back to Pierce here in your Boston point?
No, I don't even know if he'll be in the lineup today, though. He started yesterday because of the lefty. Like, he could easily not even play today. I mean, how do you not play a guy that just hit 3 home runs? But I'm not really looking to try to point chase here. He had a career game. I don't see that replicating.
Yeah, I don't see it replicating either. But if you like Boston, it's in play. If he's in the lineup, obviously. You know who was really good last night? I used it didn't matter. Teoscar Hernandez.
I don't even remember what he did. Oh, I didn't pay attention to the late game at all. Oh, yeah, 3 doubles. Nice. See, like, we're moving our way down here. Like, Cameron Maben,
Sure.
3,500 because he's really good against lefties. But, like, I'm not really looking. I know we like Cruz, and I talked about not wanting to play Baraki, but I'm not really looking to stack against him either.
Same.
Man, it is weak down here. So let's get into lineup building here for a quick second before we hang up for the day. There's your Marwin Gonzalez call as well. Like, there just is
Where is
nothing.
Ozuna?
Day-to-day, 3,900.
Yeah, so there's no one really cheap at all. You know, the guy that we used on the day slate the other day, I think is in play. A couple guys from Detroit, depending on their lineup. Jacoby Jones at 3,200. And I'm seeing this Victor Reyes, really highly projected. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why either. He's got a 509 OPS, so
Right.
No thanks.
That just can show you how rankings can screw with you a little bit.
All right, so Matt's covering the write-up today, and he'll make his GPP thoughts pretty well felt on that. Since we're on here, let's go talk through lineup building for cash games real quick. And let's just assume
for tonight.
What's that?
Makes my job easier for tonight.
Exactly. Let's just say you want to roll the chalky combination of Chris Archer and Vince Velasquez. I get that. Not where I want to go necessarily, but I get it. And the other guys we like are similarly priced anyway. So that makes sense. I think
3 of your cash game locks right here.
Yep. Perez for the cap space in the middle of the order. VR, I don't know if I've mentioned him yet, but yes, I have. And then Bryce Harper is the first elite bat that I start with today. So this is kind of like, to me, this is your starting off point right here. This is your core. You can mess with your pitchers if you want, but they're going to be similarly priced to these guys. Like I like Marco Gonzalez, and I think he's a good cash game play. So if you want to go up there, fine. But realistically, I'm really looking to pound this tier of pitchers from 8,200 down to 7,300. All of them.
Yeah. You love this tier, even more than me. You love this slate even more than me. So let's get it.
Okay. So moving over to first base. We've talked about this one at length. I mean, I like Carpenter today, but he's not a cash game play. Okay. So I think you move down from here. And for me, this is where, we got 44-40 per offensive guy. I think you take a swing with Daniel Murphy, Matt Adams, or Jesus Aguilar. Doesn't matter. Take your favorite. Put them in because they're all the same price. All right. Third base. Well, let's go over to shortstop because I also really want Trey Turner. And this is where things are going to get difficult because we're going to look at these high-priced third basemen, and you got to pick one. But then we're going to be running a little lean at outfield after going with Trey Turner.
I think you got to use Tim Beckham here.
That actually works. You know what I mean? Like, I also really like Suarez. So let's just play devil's advocate and know that we got Beckham in our back pocket right now. And let's grab Suarez because whether you go Arenado or whoever you go here.
I think you got to choose 2 of 3 of Suarez, Turner, and Harper, realistically, but you could probably make it work.
Yeah, this is playing devil's advocate for a minute, only because I want to see what else is out there again once we move down to the mid-tier. They're just like we talked about this. There's not a lot of options. And this is strengthening the Tim Beckham call that you just brought up.
Usually they don't have so many guys clumped together either, which is why it's like this,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here you might be using like a Marwin Gonzalez.
Right. And I have to ask myself, who do I like better, Marwin Gonzalez or do I like Tim Beckham? So it does make a lot of sense.
Well, it's really like, do you like Tim Beckham or do you like Suarez and Marwin Gonzalez or Tim Beckham and whoever you're about to put in right here?
It makes your lineup construction a lot easier to go with Tim Beckham right there.
Sure.
And again, Baltimore and Texas definitely has some offense. And I don't want to completely fade Texas. I'm just not really sure where I want to go right here from Texas. Like, I don't expect a repeat performance from them. But they definitely should score some runs, you would think.
Yeah, they should.
Cruz is a guy I'd probably keep for GPPs. Like there's a variety of ways to go right here, but
it gets worse and worse as you keep going.
It really, really does. Like if you really want another elite bat too, like whatever, just put Bellinger in there for a second. Like you can make it happen by paying down one.
I was going to say
Para.
Yeah, going right back there, but it's the same thing. It's the same point. It doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah, I don't really want to play Bellinger against Verlander. I'm sure he'll strike out 4 times. But if you go down like Marwin, like you could be up to 5,600. Like Hoskins, it's getting to the point where Hoskins or Benintendi, like again, this guy keeps going under the radar, but look at this game log. It's insane.
Yeah. You're taking me off Richards the more you talk about Hoskins.
Well, I still like Richards a lot, but that's the other point right here that we can also make. So take out Hoskins and Bellinger. And let's go downgrade Archer.
I really don't think you want to do that in cash games, but I get your point.
No, but I also don't. If you go different on pitchers, then you don't have to be different on offense. Let's say you go Marquez Richards. Well, shit. Now look what we got over at our disposal. Now I can go Benintendi and Hoskins. Like that is a big offensive upgrade to add in another one of the guys. Look at that outfield.
Yeah, that's a cash game offense for damn sure.
I mean, that's an offense for anybody. I think both, well, especially Richards is a little bit dicier just because he's a young guy. We don't know a lot about him yet, but man, I like this lineup.
Yeah, I can tell you like that.
Or, whatever you want to pivot to. Take these guys out. And then you go move over and take Tim Beckham out and grab Suarez, who is just a stud. And now you can do whatever you want over here. So there's a lot of ways to go today. And it's another point to why Richards and Marquez may not seem like a big difference price-wise from Velasquez and Archer. But you get an extra offensive stud, and these dudes could outscore those guys.
Most definitely they can outscore those guys. God, I missed the days like 2 weeks ago of having a cheap offense so I can use expensive pitching. Like, what the hell happened?
This is like the offense started going and DraftKings messed with the pricing.
This is ridiculous still. Like, it really is. I hate it. Like, I don't like not using the top pitchers. It's usually like an advantage.
Hey man, if you can do a full Nat stack then too. Like Adams and
sorry, go ahead with your point, and then I'll tell mine.
I was going to say, like, you could do a full national stack if you pay down to Richards and Marquez. Like, I got Adams, Murphy, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, and you could take Soto out and put in Eaton if you prefer him or something like that. Now you just got to find one scrub, your boy Marisnik, Reyes, who you brought up, whoever it is. Obviously, anybody down here is kind of going to suck.
Marisnik. I hate him. So
he's your favorite player.
So my point was going to be like, I'm not kidding. 2 weeks ago, for the All-Star break, whatever, a viable strategy for me on a slate like this would be to like look at using DeGrom and Verlander. Like, put them in right now. I just want you could not even get a lineup with them two in tonight. With even like Corbin in one of them, you couldn't even make a lineup.
It's realistic that you couldn't fit guys who are starting if you went Verlander to DeGrom. Because, the guys that are actually playing, like, you realistically could possibly not even be able to make a lineup. In the past, like, you could make a lineup. It just sucked. Like, it's possible not even to play one of these, play anybody.
Like, you can't – exactly. Like, it takes an element out that I like. So that bothers me a little bit.
And I also don't love DeGrom or Verlander today. I like Verlander. I like DeGrom. I would go DeGrom over Verlander today. But that's why I'm not even looking at these guys today, because – they average 25 points between the two of them approximately. Like, I feel pretty good that we can get 40 out of like Sanchez, Marquez, or something like that.
I like DeGrom more than you. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, it's DeGrom to me. And actually, you know what? It's actually DeGrom by a pretty decent amount today, in my opinion.
Yeah, like DeGrom at home. Like, there are times when like when it's not priced like crazy like this, where DeGrom at home is like an automatic lock.
Right, and the only reason he's not, like, trust me, the price wasn't a thing. He's my top pitcher today by a good margin.
by a good margin here. Like, I think the upside's real here. The floor's real. Like, this is a good spot for him. Bounce back spot. Again, that's our big favorites, I know, because of DeGrom.
Put it this way. If we had to make a bet on points, we talked about who was the guy that I said 27.5 and you said 30, and then he got like 29.8.
That's Sale?
Was it Sale?
Might have been Sale.
It might have been. Actually, it was DeGrom versus San Diego.
Was it? Wow.
Yeah, because he had the 29.8. I'm actually staring at it right now. I just remember the number and not who it was. Like, Atlanta's a lot better than San Diego, but he's done well against Atlanta this season. Specifically, I don't know. He's in a good spot. I can't fathom paying for him today because of what the offenses are.
Agreed. Okay, if you pay for DeGrom in tournaments, and you better think that he can get 30 plus here. Like, I'm not saying that's a lock, but I think he can get 30 plus here. That's why I'm interested.
Yeah. All right. I think that about covers what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Different ways to go. It's an interesting slate, to say the least.
We said we'd keep it short. I lied.
Yeah, what's it, like 2 hours right now?
Not that long, but it's been a while. I want Nationals. I mean, you really put me on them post All-Star break. And even specifically since they floated, you almost wonder if that was a strategy.
I agree. Been thinking about that since you brought that up.
Like,
must have been.
I mean, I guess you float it out there, and if somebody gives you the world, you take it. Because what do you think the odds are he ends up back in Washington? 33%?
Higher than people think.
25?
Higher. Because I think like 40%, because in my opinion, the biggest team that I would expect him to go is the Yankees.
And they have no room for him.
No, they just made the commitment with Stanton. They went Stanton instead of Harper because it was a trade. They didn't have to go out and sign him. I guess you have the Dodgers, but like, do you think at this point they're going to be firmly committed to signing Machado? I guess the Phillies, but I'd put Washington right there. It's not like Washington's a small market, right?
No. What about the Cubs?
Cubs is intriguing.
I could see that one.
He's been linked there.
I could definitely see him ending up in
see
Chicago.
That one.
And even though you said like Machado and like LA seems like they'll just go.
I agree. Bryce Harper in Chicago is scary with that lineup now. Like that's scary.
Imagine especially if you're a righty, imagine having to go Chris Bryant, Rizzo, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Javier Baez.
That's the key now, Javier Baez. Like you said, Schwarber before him, but really it's like having to go through Javier Baez and then the rest of them.
Yeah, Baez is turning into a superstar.
Yeah, he's awesome. So
all right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.